Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Officer Cadet Alicia Scott. We warmly welcome the family of Private Keith Albert Lawler, whose story will be told shortly. The ACT Emergency Services Agencies are comprised of over 1,500 full-time and volunteer personnel. Their duties include providing emergency management services to the ACT and surrounding southeast New South Wales region. We sincerely thank them for their efforts in ensuring the safety of our community. We are honoured to acknowledge ACT Minister for Police, Fire and Emergency Services, Dr. Marissa Patterson, MLA, ACT Emergency Services Acting Commissioner Glenn Brewer, ACT Rural Fire Service Representative Ben Radford, ACT Fire and Rescue Superintendent of Operations Paul Flynn, ACT Emergency Services Chief Officer Steve Forbes, ACT Ambulance Service Representative Greg Brown, and personnel from all agencies who are joining us this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and their families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Keith Albert Lawler. Keith Lawler was born on the 22nd of July, 1919 in East Devonport, Tasmania. He was the youngest of 13 children of Arthur and Annie Lawler. Keith's father died in 1934. Little else is known of his early life, other than he followed in his father's footsteps, joining the Salvation Army. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, Keith was living in Smithton, Tasmania, where he was the chief postal clerk. Lawler joined the Australian Imperial Force on the 28th of June 1940 in Launceston. Initially allotted to the 2nd, 3rd Hygiene Section, in early August he transferred to the 7th Australian General Hospital. Keith was soon earmarked for another transport to the Postal Corps, a line of work familiar to him, which saw him join the 8th Division Postal Unit at Broadmeadows near Melbourne. Yet by November, Lawler had rejoined the 7th General Hospital, then stationed at Seymour in Victoria. Private Keith Lawler embarked from overseas service on the 3rd of February 1941. Departing Sydney, they arrived in the Middle East on the 25th of March. In September, he was promoted to corporal, but at his own request reverted to private in early February 1942. At this time, Lawler was transferred to the 2nd, 4th Field Ambulance. Field ambulances were mobile medical units that treated wounded soldiers close to the combat zone. They retrieved casualties from forward medical aid posts and transported them back to where they could get better medical attention. On February 8th, 1942, Keith Lawler and his new unit embarked for return to Australia. With the Japanese making alarming progress in Asia and the Pacific since launching their attack in December, Australian troops were coming home to face this new threat. He arrived in Tasmania in early March and spent some time on leave. At the end of August 1942, the 2nd, 4th Field Ambulance again left Australian shores, this time headed to North Papua. They arrived at Port Moresby 10 days later. From October to December 1942, they took over as the lead medical unit for the later phases of the Kokoda campaign, serving 2 frontline infantry brigades. Their duties included triage and resuscitation, initial wound surgery for battle casualties and further surgery, nursing ward care for battle casualties and acutely sick patients, preparation for evacuation of casualties along the Kokoda Trail, and the establishment of multiple aid posts along the way for care during the evacuation of the walking wounded. By the last week of November, they had moved on from Kokoda and set up a main dressing station at Soputa, inland from the fighting at Gona and Santarana. There they received sick and wounded men from the fighting at the beachhead battles. On the 27th of November, several Japanese Zero fighters appeared overhead, approaching from multiple directions. They had attacked the dressing station, the nearby divisional headquarters, and the kitchen. It was a scene of utter devastation. Tents holed, huts keeling over, the quartermaster's dispensary store burning. In a few minutes, a busy hospital was transformed into a miniature battlefield. 5 cooks were killed. In the main hospital area, about 30 men were killed and another 50 or so were wounded. Many of the men killed had been lying on stretchers, awaiting aerial evacuation. The 2nd, 4th Field Ambulance lost several killed outright and one who later died of wounds. One of those killed outright was Private Keith Lawler. He was 23 years old. Initially buried at Soputa War Cemetery, Lawler's remains were later reinterred at the Bamana War Cemetery in Port Moresby. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here by the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Keith Albert Lawler, who gave his life for us our freedom, and in the hopes of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old as we the left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down in the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.